Mic test. Ay, nako.
Okay na.
Okay. Wait, 1 second. Live na?
Yeah, I think. Asa naman
Oh yeah, live streaming on Facebook.
Okay,
May gabi. Mark na sa Zoom. Kaya may gabi, welcome to Anong Ambag mo. Alright, once again, may gabi, welcome to Anong Ambag mo. Thanks ni Sir Ninyo for inviting me. My name's Jom. I'm a musician here from Cebu, and I'll be playing a few songs of mine. So that was a Brazilian piece called "Son of the Bells," and then now I'm gonna switch to my synthesizer over here. Play some songs for you guys. Nin, okay lang audio, di ba? Madungog lang, kon?
Yes, okay na, Joe.
legacy lives. Let them see what the pedigree is. Mega thesis, blessing these kids with extra features. The depth the deepest, the deepest sea is. Telepathy increases, melody can speak is. Telekinesis, ideas appear as clear as. Pictures in movie theaters, lyrics you hear is devastating the way your ear is. So stay tuned for sequels, part 2s and more. So soon you and your peoples can bum rush the store. The names change, the game remain the same. I one came to reign on his claim to fame. No stopping this, I'm dropping this with hip hopping this. And when the topic gets topicless, then I'm writing the apocalypse. So all hail the honorable. Microphone phenomenal, persona is unvulnerable. Trust me, son, I continue like a song do. Bringing you the drama to allow you that the chronicle is just gun.
All right, mga to siya, sir.
All right. Hello. Thank you so much. That was Jom Uwano. Unsa may imuhang Facebook page gani nga official Jom Uwano Music, no?
Jom Wano Music.
Yeah, you can search sa Facebook if you're into unsa man gid ni primarily imuhang ano,
Uh,
imuhang
I think lately kay I had like a Like over the years when I started making music and putting it out there kay murag dagang gani kay kog projects. So nahog na karon all the stuff on Jam Wano music I guess is classical guitar and
Mm,
then this electronic stuff nga I like doing.
mm.
So it's just that or kanang banjo music na ho or just anything I like really. Diharan ako i-post.
All right. Lain-lain na siya. You can check his okay, for tonight, again, as mentioned, as advertised sa to ang Facebook page, no? We've been off for a week or 2 weeks, no? Na wala ta we weren't able to air because of some difficulties, no? Dili available most of the speakers. Uh, but we are very lucky for tonight to have two of uh, very intelligent and perhaps uh, talented as well resource speakers with us tonight to tackle particularly these are topics day uh, legal issues on civil liberties and the anti-terror bill and with us tonight to discuss this particular topic is attorney Pochoy Labog of Dakila and Dicta License. Good evening, attorney Pochoy.
Good evening, Nino, and everyone who's tuning in now through Facebook Live. In this conversation, Nino, I'd like to personally thank you for inviting me here to speak on civil liberties and the anti-terror bill. I'm mostly gonna focus on the anti-terror bill because it touches on civil liberties and human
Yeah.
rights. Um, and so yeah, so I'll just you mentioned that this will be more of an informal discussion, and I didn't.
Yeah.
Pasensya na. I'm also gonna speak from time to time in Tagalog. Hindi ako marunong mag Bisaya. So pasensya na po sa ating mga kababayan in the Visayas region. But I'll yeah, I hope I make myself clear to you all. Um, so yeah, so I'll just fire away then. Um, so I'll begin my discussion by saying that um, the first part is really I want to emphasize that I wish we were not talking about this. I wish we weren't talking about the anti-terror bill right now. We shouldn't be talking about this. The government likes to talk about context, um, saying that there's terror and we need to address terrorism in the Philippines. However, they would like to define because it's it's a difficult subject to define what terrorism is. I think even in international law, international circles, there's it was hard to craft a precise definition and a consensus on the matter. Um, but yeah, there is a problem, a concern on terrorism, uh, armed conflict in general. But so that's the context that they are selling, they're promoting, and it's true. I mean, I personally am against any terror, any violence. Um, but let's take a look. Let's zoom out more, a little bit more, and see what like what's the overall context really is. And yeah, the context is we are in a pandemic right now. Right? We are in a health crisis right now, and if we look at all the numbers, all this the graphs, all the what have you, we are objectively speaking not doing well in combating this health crisis, COVID-19, diba? But government keeps on harping that the number one threat right now is terrorism. I don't know if anyone buys that. Maybe, and people would still buy it. But yeah, I think it's clear that it's not. There is a health crisis now, pandemic, that I think we are failing to address by any standard that we can, Google and research, and even even our own numbers, even the government's numbers, um, however confused they are. Um, so that's the context. So I want to focus on context first. There's a pandemic. Number two, we have a law. We have the Human Security Act that specifically deals with terrorism. Um, this Human Security Act, when it was passed in 2007, I believe, I don't have my code. I have a incomplete código in front of me. But the Human Security Act was already a law that was heavily opposed by human rights groups when it was passed, um, saying that it's highly oppressive, very state-centric, hindi siya, whole of nation approach. It's very police-centric in dealing with terrorism. And it actually allows surveillance and authorization by the Anti-Terror Council of arrest, without the warrant. But such an arrest has to be born out of surveillance. Um, so yeah, there's that. That's we already have a law that addresses this type of problem. But they say it's dead letter law. Um, is it the fault of the law, or do we have lapses in the implementation of the law or in our criminal justice system? I'm not advocating for human security. I'm just saying that maybe the argument that it's dead letter law is misplaced. Um, in fact, if you not too long ago, this law was activated, was used by the administration, um, petitioning 600, around 600 people, um, activists belonging to NGOs, for them to be declared as terrorists. Diba? That was not too long ago. And if you look at that list, there were some that were already people who were already dead. Um, it included the former UN Special Rapporteur Vicky Tauli Corpus. Um, you know, this is a UN officer that was included in that list. So the precision of our uh, government in dealing with this type of um, prosecution is uh, it's not very good, and it's no joke when you were tagged and you were uh, there's an attempt to for on for you on you to be prosecuted as a terrorist. It's no joke. But there were lapses there, and actually now I think it's down to 8 people in that petition. That is silly. That is crazy, right? From 600. And so we have the Human Security Act. So I would argue that it wasn't. They say dead letter law. Uh, I'm not sure if I buy that argument. Because another argument on the government side is in the Human Security Act, meron yung damages, 500,000 damages for every day of wrongful detention kung na quit yung person. But they took that away in the anti-terror bill. I mean, if that's too much for you, there was no negotiation. Ba hindi alam mo yun, kung magkano. Um, Let me emphasize why the civil indemnity is very important. They say na okay, we take out the 500,000. You know why? Because ang hirap, it's so hard to it's so hard for police officers to implement the law because natatakot sila. Baka if mali yung kanilang pag-arrest, pag-detain, they will, they will have to pay the 500,000 per day. So it became, ineffective, the law. But one, it's not, it won't be the police officer that will be paying. It will be the government that will be paying. There will be a budget allocation for that, for the damages. That's one. And two, um, ayun nga, there was no conversation on lowering the 500,000 scientifically or, logically, what the effective amount is. Because there is a need to have an amount. You know why? It's so hard. If the safeguard is, kung nagkamali yung police, pwede mo nang kasuhan. It's in the law. It's in the anti-terror bill na pwede mo siyang kasuhan. It's so hard to criminally prosecute a police officer, a state agent. I think Dean Chel Jokno has a book on civil and administrative remedies against state agents committing human rights abuses, because yun yung mas madali. It's easier to file cases, civil cases, and administrative cases against police officers or military officers, because the threshold of evidence is lower. Sa criminal case kasi, proof beyond reasonable doubt ang kailangan. So you are gonna file the safeguard you're saying is file a case. Kung nagkamali, di file a case against the police, a criminal case. Number one, you're gonna file a case against a police officer. They are, you know, they're tasked to investigate, gather evidence, and you're going against their kind, diba? It will be very hard. You have to gather evidence na that will meet the threshold of proof beyond reasonable doubt. So, I mean, civil case is uh, more realistic as a deterrent, you know, against abuses of the law. Okay, so Human Security Act, no, that's another piece dun sa context. Number 3, there's already a executive order 70, whole of nation approach to a ano yun? Whole of nation approach to combat the armed insurgency, something like that. Yung EO70, sorry. Which shows the political will of the administration to have this whole of nation approach, which means human security approach, diba? Hindi na you have the militaristic angle, but you also provide the services to communities. Whole of nation, diba? That's why the DNR is there, NCIP is there. All of these agencies are part of that interagency body that will supposedly address the peace issue. So you have that EO70. You already have that. Another piece of the puzzle. We already have the BBL. We I'm not saying that the BBL is perfect, but we've come to a point where there's a law that has sort of become a peace agreement between the MILF and the GRP, diba? So that's the context that we are. So of course there's still conflict, but iba na. It's not like before, right? And if you look at how the government arrived at this the Bangsamoro Basic Law, it wasn't it was through years and years of negotiation, compromise, sitting down together, just, diba? It was through very complex diplomatic means. You know, at that time, and I'm sure even today, there's some people in Mindanao that even officials, government officials that would consider the MILF as you know terrorists or have used extreme means. But how the approach was sit down and negotiate, 'di ba? Ganun yung nangyari. And in the past, our government was harsh, 'di ba? I think panahon ni Erap binomba yung Camp Abu Bakar. And yeah, I don't know if that accomplished anything. We still had armed conflict in Mindanao. So yeah, I'm just saying that the approach. This is the context that we have now. So we have the BBL, and it has uh, gained some sort of peace. I would say it's not perfect, but we have that. Okay. Another piece of the puzzle in this context, in the overall context, the armed movement has according to my research, has shrunk compared to the 80s. Medyo, it's the armed movement versus the military. The military has great numbers, di ba? Compared to, I think the estimate is now 4,000 armed in the armed movement. I'm not sure, but ayun, it's just there's overwhelming dominance sa military. And then the last, and you can add later on in our discussion, no, sa context, there's funds galore. There's a lot of funds floating around in the offices of the president, the intelligence and confidential funds of the president. Since 2017, yung budget niya 2.5 billion uh, for intelligence funds. In the previous administration, it was just 500 million a year. In this administration, it's 2.5 billion a year. And I think for 2020, they want to double this. And so the intelligence funds are mainly for national security purposes, right? So there's money. There's money also that deals with national security, peace and order. But yeah, it's weird. Also, there's a disconnect in according to my research. Now, if we're talking about counterinsurgency, sorry, um, the lead agent what is the lead agency that should we're the government's talking about prevention, about to prevent. We have to prevent the attacks, the terroristic attacks, uh, before it happens, before they happen. Diba? What's the government agency um, that can warn the government or if there's an impending threat? It's the NICA, diba? Then National Intelligence Coordinating Agency. I'm sorry if I'm butchering the NICA. NICA, right? Okay. It's the primary intelligence gathering and analysis arm of the government. But so this is a detail that I find very confusing. So tinaas yung budget sa intelligence funds ng Office of the President, but the NICA, the budget was so it's the National Intelligence Coordinating Agency. Yeah. Yung budget ng NICA, it was cut by 85%, 86%. From 140 million in 2019 now down to 20 million for the 2020 budget. So if you're sincere, diba, parang you would think that you'll pump funds to. I'm not saying I want to pump funds to the NICA. I would rather give that to education, and you know um, social needs. But if your argument is, oh, we need to combat terrorism, I think you would like give some money, not cut uh, money from intelligence, right? So yun. Um, so yeah, the context is yun, di ba? May pandemic, we already have the law, Human Security Act, we have the EO70, Whole of Nation approach, we have the BBL, shrink na yung armed movement, uh, and there's a lot of funds on national security. So that's the context. Um, and so uh, let me talk about the anti-terror bill naman, the proposed anti-terror bill, and why I think, and a lot of lawyers, a lot of legal scholars have already, uh, uh, you know, given their analysis on this and saying that it's unconstitutional. So the first one is on the anti-terror bill. It's unconstitutional because, according to Justice Carpio, it suffers from a double whammy because it allows arrests without judicial warrants. Okay, in our Constitution, the Bill of Rights, Section 2, the right against unreasonable searches and seizures, it's only a judge that can issue a warrant upon probable cause determined by him personally after examining the complainant and witnesses and evidence. Okay? The only other way na pwede kang ma-aresto is yung caught red-handed when you're already committing the crime or just committed the crime. Okay? So, actually, but if you look at the Human Security Act um, of 2007, it actually allows judicial warrantless arrests, but which is another topic that was also opposed by human rights groups. But at least you would say in the Human Security Act, um, it was an extension of the warrantless arrests because you can arrest uh, someone even without a warrant basta nag-surveillance ka. So, like you hear that a terrorist act will be, according to your surveillance, there will be a terrorist act that will happen and you can arrest that person. So, it's like the actually committing the crime, warrantless arrest, exception to the rule. Um, so that's the first unconstitutional, and I believe that's section 29 ba yun? Anyway, 29 or 25. Um, and then the other one to me that's very alarming is prolonged detention, 'di ba? Kasi ngayon parang yeah, it's way in excess of 3 days that we can be held in detention because it's implied in our constitution in the provisions on executive powers that even during martial law, even when the writ of habeas corpus, the privilege of the writ has been suspended, you can only be detained without judicial charge for 3 days. So this one is diba, 10 or 12 days. Yeah, I have to look at my, yeah,
14 ata.
14
14
days. Yes,
at
yes.
max to
Section
pwede siya ma-extend
to
ng
10
10
pare. So
days.
24
24
actually.
yung max.
Yeah. Thank you, Nino, for being my código. Okay. So, yeah. It's well beyond what is allowed in our constitution. Yeah, kasi extreme na yung sa martial law. Pero even then, 3 days, di ba? And then, so yeah. And then this one punishes new crimes, including inciting to commit terrorism, Section 9. So this is new. As I mentioned, the Human Security Act before, it was already challenged. It was challenged by presidential spokesperson, actually, Harry Roque, before. And But it was dismissed. The challenges, there were two. The challenges were dismissed by the court saying kasi na hindi pa ripe. It was dismissed procedurally. There were it was hindi pa ripe yung case. Meaning there has to be a violation first before the Supreme Court can actually take cognizance of the case. Um, and it doesn't deal with speech. Now, the Justice Scarpio has opined that this can actually be challenged right away. Pagka naglapse na yung how many days or the president signs it into law, this can be already challenged in court because it deals with speech. That's an exception to the ripeness doctrine.
What does it mean? What does it mean, attorney? It
Yeah.
You can file immediately.
Okay.
Uh,
So, sige ninyo.
anong tawag
Sorry,
doon?
sorry.
Anong what did Justice Carpio mean by we can challenge it immediately? In what form?
Mhm. Yeah, so the term is facially challenged, yung kaagad, because on its face, there's already a constitutional infirmity on speech. So the court can already tackle it. Yung Human Security Act, it doesn't really deal with speech. The court said that before. So there has to be a violation first, meaning somebody has to be prosecuted first under the Human Security Act, and then you file a case assailing the constitutionality of the Human Security Act. May injury muna. Here, in the anti-terror bill, if it becomes anti-terror law, pwede na right away. You can go to court and challenge it because it deals with speech. Yeah.
But can we demand like or does it have a merit on the urgency of the court to address or to tackle the complaint whenever it is filed?
Yeah. So the when it and one of the exceptions to almost every time when you have to go to court when you're injured. Pag na-injure ka ng law, ng batas, na-injure yung rights mo, 'di ba? So you have to have um, that requisite before you go to court. Here, wala pang injury, pwede mo na siya i-facially challenge. On its face pa lang. Kasi it deals with speech. Right? It deals with speech yung inciting. Diba? Which is problematic. Kasi parang, teka, baka hindi na tayo makasalita. Diba? What is inciting to commit terrorism, right? So that's why it can be tackled right away by the court, by the Supreme Court. It can be facially challenged. This law. So, but we'll see. I'm pretty sure all the lawyers groups are gonna file before the yung Human Security Act. I think most human rights groups filed. Even the IBP filed in 2007. Yeah. So I'm sure naka-ready na yung nakakasa na yung mga arguments nung. And you see it. You see it all. It's all over the place. No, if you're attentive enough. Okay. So so that's section 9. That's troubling, inciting to commit terrorism because it deals with speech. Nakalagay mismo, incite others to commit terrorism by means of speeches, diba, writings, and we have artists here. Na, pwede pa ba nating, can you cover Tatsulok? Imagine that, diba? Hanggat marami ang lugmok sa kahirapan at ang hustisya ay para lang sa mayaman habang may Tatsulok. Is that inciting to the? I don't know, right? There are no guidelines. There are no clear standards in the law. And if you think about it, will at how do you prosecute this? Diba? What kind of speech are we looking at here? Because they say, oh no, nakalagay kasi na parang advocacy, protest is not terrorism, diba? But nakalagay rin na provided not this, diba? Provided that advocacy, protest, dissent, and other similar exercises of civil and political rights which are not intended to cause death, injury, or create a serious risk to public safety. What is that? Create a serious risk to public safety. That's not defined, right?
And the problem with that, I think, is
Mm.
the what do you call it, executive appointed uh, body who will perhaps define the act as something that can be uh, attributed to terrorism or inciting to terrorism.
Yeah, I mean, we can. There's so many examples, diba? Of how if you have to look at this law, um, you have to imagine how it will be implemented operationally, diba? A police officer, how will a police officer appreciate this? He looks at a Facebook post, quoting Tatsulok, sabihin natin. Naku, baka magalit sa akin si ang buklod, no? Um, but, yeah. And, siguro, like, there's, sa out of 10, baka iba-iba interpretation nila eh. Some will say, hindi, advocacy lang yan, protest. But some would say, oh, no, no. 'Di ba? Surveillance na to. Baka ano yan, gumagawa ng bomba yan. Diba? Ito, right? Kasi,
Ngayon pa nga lang po yung sa mga PNP na pages,
hmm,
makikita mo yung mga Facebook post na nagva-viral na coming from the official Facebook post ng PNP.
that's right.
Tapos parang ascribing organizations, even lawmakers or progressive or leftist lawmakers as fronts of terrorist groups. That's very dangerous already.
That is right. You know, having are we punishing belief? 'Di ba? If like we believe in a certain policies, 'di ba? And we don't believe in this type of policy and we advocate against it. Is that inciting? The point is walang clear standards in the law. And we look at reality, what's happening, it's already happening. It, we see the official accounts of government officials and they're red tagging everywhere people, diba? So yeah, it's very dangerous and there are no clear standards. And yun nga, ano ba yung speech na kasi nakalagay sa section 4, what is terrorism, 'di ba? Acts regardless if terrorism is committed regardless of stage of execution, when acts intended to cause death or bodily injury, that's murder, homicide, or physical injuries, 'di ba? Damage to property, and there's a list. And the purpose, by its nature and context, is to intimidate the general public or a segment of the public, 'di ba? Or create an atmosphere, spread a message of fear. Okay, so naka-define 'yan, 'di ba? You think so dapat ba yung suspect of inciting, he will say all of that? 'Di ba? I am gonna do this act to cause injury. Alam mo 'yun? Uh, I don't think any terrorist will be like that. I don't know. But anyway, so yeah, there are no standards. What is the standard? What is the speech that we're trying to prevent here? And since it's vague, it will cause a chilling effect sa activism, artists, what can I say now? Can I sing Dictador? I don't know. 'Di ba? So, and what kind of society are we with this type of legislation we're trying to build, 'di ba? Like I think I'm not sure si Attorney Mel Santa Maria he had like an opinion also that this will affect academic freedom, 'di ba? Because I think I took a philosophy in college and we studied Marx, 'di ba? For our postmodern contemporary philosophy. So, yeah, and you hear stories of okay, this guy's a communist, terrorist because he reads the, diba? Like you have these like mga very surface analysis of people, and it will affect academic freedom, diba? Can I even own that book? So it's
May
very
ano nga
dangerous.
sila nung yung kasagsagan ng Senate hearing ata 'yon na
Mm-mm.
I think it came from the from the PNP side,
Yeah.
where they in the course of the discussion they also highlighted the implications of the law in schools, and they've highlighted some scholars that cannot be part of the curriculum, weirdly. So sila
Yeah.
Marx, nasali pa si Nietzsche ata. Ewan ko kung paano
Ah,
nila yun
diba?
ginawa, or I don't know. But you have that mindset already and disposition of law enforcers to think and
Mm-mm.
interpret the law on their own. And as
Yeah.
we usually say it, the law must explain itself. It must not be explained by the law enforcer na
Yes,
who wants to
that's true.
interpret the law. Kaya nga yung vagueness, yung ambiguity niya
Mm.
is a real issue.
Yeah, because that's a due process requirement, 'di ba? Um, that section 1 of our Bill of Rights, 'di ba? No one shall be deprived of life, liberty, uh, and property without due process of law. And if you don't know, so part of due process is you know what acts to avoid. The law has to be clear. Eh, paano yun? Hindi, you don't know, right? Na what you're saying is already inciting to terrorism. So, I don't know. Maybe they should provide examples. It's so hard to define yung incitement. It's gonna affect speech. Anyway, so moving on. Um, yeah, so those are, excuse me. Those are the things, I think there are others, but yun yung parang medyo troubling para sa akin. Um, and then so my last points lang. Um, it's yeah, yung path to peace, 'di ba? What's the path to peace? It is a very complex subject matter. We have all over the world. There have been, armed movements, rebellions, 'di ba? And it was never addressed using band-aid solutions, 'di ba? It's very complex, um, and in a lot of cases, violence begets violence. If you look at the history of ISIS, 'di ba? How it came about, 'di ba? It's sometimes, if you look at the countering terror, if your counter-terrorism tactic is not human rights compliant, it doesn't uh, take into account human rights, it's not efficient because you're just gonna sow seeds of terror. Diba? I-imprison mo yung ama, 'di ba? Yung or patayin mo. Anong iisipin anong mabubuo sa pag-iisip ng anak? 'Di ba? It's just gonna be passed down if you use violence. So again, this is not my expertise, but just reading and researching. And ito kanina, I just listened to yung special rapporteur on the protection of human rights while combating terror. UN special rapporteur, and I'm sure I'm gonna butcher her name, si Finula. She's Irish. Finula ni Olam. Anyway, the UN Special Rapporteur on combating terror. Sorry, ma'am, I butchered your name. She said that she opposed the anti-terror bill, and yun nga, yung sinabi niya, in-emphasize niya yung securing the nation and human rights are not at odds. In-emphasize niya na actually, para ma-address mo ang problema ng peace, you have to be, compliant with, you have to respect human rights. Um, And yeah, if the government is again going back to the context, the government has so many resources now, tools. We have a very popular president, and if they're confident in winning the hearts of the people, I think the only way is really to provide the education to the people, um, provide basic services, opportunity, jobs. Yeah, I don't think some a great percentage will support the government if that's what the government is prioritizing, diba? If we strengthen family life, um, you know, the father won't have to take up arms, will be with his family and nurture, in a nurturing environment, and it's ganon, diba?
And we have existing frameworks for a framework for this already. Yung anong tawag dito? Yung sa OPAP, pamana.
Yun.
So we already have a
We
peace
already
building
have that.
framework.
Yeah.
The problem there is how the counterinsurgency program and the peace building program
Mm.
is to be treated. And at the end of the day, ang nagiging tendency ng peace building framework ay nagiging ano siya, secondary or even encroached or in ano tawag dito, napapaloob siya dun sa counterinsurgency framework, which is primarily military work to
Yeah.
counter insurgency rather than building peace structures
Yeah.
that wouldn't allow uh, prospects for violence or
Yeah.
terrorism for that matter.
Yeah. And that being said, I I wish that the government can find a way, I still I still am hopeful. Um but yeah, sa ngayon parang my opinion, they're going in the wrong direction. So yeah, that's it. That's it for me. Um
All right.
okay.
So, of course, i-maximize na lang namin uh, yung pagpapa-unlock sa aming invitation to ask you for a performance uh, for tonight, Sir Pochoy.
Okay.
Okay.
Nako, teka, I didn't see the comments kanina. Parang palakasin ba yung mic o kanina pa yan?
Kanina pa ata to.
Okay, but this is good. This
Yeah.
is when I was talking. Okay. So, this is so weird, no? After, I think this is a first for me na give a talk and like perform.
Performance as well.
But yeah, para sa ito ninyo kasi
Thank you, thank you.
um and I was inspired by Jom kanina with this synth work. Galing ni Jom. Yeah, and I want to do this. So let me just fix my equipment. So mag-electronic din muna ako, but I'm just gonna use my phone. Oops, let me
So
just
to
mute.
everyone who's still watching, who's still with us, you can donate. By the way, this is also a venue for us while we are doing this on a weekly basis. But maybe in the coming days, hindi na siya regular on a Saturday, but maybe we do it on weekdays as well. But this is also an initiative to raise funds for the affected communities of the lockdown in Cebu City, as well as for the what do you call this? Our um, frontliners, for the PPEs of our frontliners. So you can donate to our GCash and PayMaya accounts. I think. Wait, I'll just read the number. For PayMaya, I think it's the same. PayMaya and GCash. You can donate at 0917-701-5726. Again, for both Gcash and PayMaya, 0917-705-726. So the proceeds will go directly to our partners in creating the and reproducing the PPEs, and of course the communities that are affected by the lockdown in Cebu City. Okay. Oh, there's a question,
Yeah,
attorney,
there's a
before you
question.
proceed.
Yeah. So before I perform, yeah, from FB, knowing how our justice system operates, how can one find immediate redress when he or she is charged with terrorism? Okay, so ito na nga yung sinasabi ko, no? Well, this is a very uh, this case will be very serious if you're charged with terrorism. So you have to have the so you have to hire the services of a lawyer immediately. Um, and yeah, and Dean Chel Jokno emphasizes this. This is I forgot to mention another component to peace is um, the, a anong tawag dito, a robust and reliable justice system that unfortunately we are trying to aspire um, to have. So yeah, when you're charged, that's the recourse. You have to defend yourself. So you have to have the services of a lawyer, and that's a criminal case. So um, and siguro kaakibat nitong tanong na to is how if you want to take the offensive, no, you can also file a case against the police officer or the military, and we have um, laws that deal with that. Yeah, and there's mga human rights remedies like the writ of amparo, but yeah, so there are sa kasamang palad, wala na yung damages that I spoke about kanina, yung reparations kung wrongfully arrested ka. So you will have to file a criminal case also against the police officer or the military.
Pero
Just in case that
pwede
happens.
kang mag-file ng damages separately. Hindi lang siya automatic.
Yes. So sa criminal case actually may damages component rin siya.
Mhm.
May subsumed yung civil aspect, but you can also file a separate civil case. That's still available, but unfortunately, wala na yung it's not pronounced, it's not expressly provided in the law. So
Mhm. Okay.
maganda yung expressly provided in the law, 'di ba? So they took that out. And I would argue you can still file a damages case.
Mhm.
But yeah, that'll be
Tsaka ano
how.
na lang din, if ever you are in a situation uh, na ganyan, documentation,
Yes.
or
Mm,
be ready to
tama.
document the events.
Yeah, we have our cell phones, our smartphones, yeah, video, and also, yeah, as much as possible, witnesses, ganyan. Hopefully, there's witnesses. Yeah. So, evidence gathering and documentation. Tama yan. Okay.
All right.
All right. So,
Okay.
yeah, I'll
So
move on.
are you ready? Ready ka na ba?
Yeah, ninyo. Okay. Maraming salamat. Yung una kong awitin, ito po ay awitin yung kadalasan ng banda ko, yung Dicta License. Ito pauna namin sa aming mga set. Isa pong awit tungkol sa kasaysayan ng ating bayan. Ang tawag dito mga sugat. Meron lang yata hindi nakamute.
Okay. Ayun.
We can just okay. All right. Can you hear that? Hear that beat?
Ito ang mga sugat, kapalaran ng isang nasyon. Iginuhit ng sibilisasyong kanluran, layuning ibunyag ang katotohanan, ngunit bitbit mga sandat at karahasan. Silang naturing bumigas ng iyong pangalan, bininyagan na Indyo ang angkan. Unti-unting naglaho ang katutubong kultura, simula na ng di pagkilala sa mga sugat, nalimutan ng inagis ng ritmo, mga instrumento, liriko at syempo. Nasaan na nga ba ang mga testamento bukod sa puso? Ito ang mga sugat. Mga sugat ko to, ang simula ng paghilom. Ang pagkilala mo sa mga sugat. Mga sugat ko to, ang simula ng paghilom. Ang pagkilala nyo sa mga. Ito ang mga sugat na sa kayo manggigong bala, tulad ng mga tekstong naisulat sa mga aklat. Buklatin ang kasaysayan ng pagkabigo, ang sanhi kong batamdamin ay natuyo. Diba wala ngayon nawasak sa dilim, ang pagnanakaw nyo ay di na rin lihim. Itong kultura dapat hilumin at sagipin ang mga utak alipin. Tila yata naubos na sila, mga nagmamahal sa bayan kung ina, ating alalahan ng mga ugat. Ito ang mga sugat. Mga sugat ko to, ang simula ng paghilom. Ang pagkilala mo sa mga sugat. Mga sugat mo to, ang simula ng paghilom. Ang pagkilala mo sa mga. Thank you. Yun yung awkward din, walang. So yeah, let me just switch my instrument also. Mute this for a bit. Okay. More. How's that?
Yung sa guitar po. Sa guitar.
Oh, yeah. There you go.
Yan.
Okay, so this one's a new one. Just released a song nung nakaraang Independence Day. Let me just put very new. I haven't even memorized the lyrics. Yeah. This one's called Salita. Tumahimik ka na lang. Ano bang naitulong mo? Akala mo kung sino? Ano bang naambag mo? Puro ka reklamo. Ikaw nang matalino. Puro ka lang ingay. Huwag kang pasaway. Walang magagawa, walang patutunguhan, pabayaan mo sila, walang karapatan. Ika'y nakikinabang sa hatid ng puon, huwag ka nang mag-isip, huwag ka nang magtanong. Ang sandata mong taglay ay biyayang ibinibigkas, at ang pag-ibig mo'y tunay, sumabay na lalong lumakas. Hanggang mo ang salita, di mapigil na salita. Hanggang mo ang salita, di mapigil na salita. Ba't ba ang hilig pumuna? Di ka nagsasawa. Ba't ba ang hilig manggulo? Ayoko ng katulad mo. Ito ay babala mula sa masunurin. Hoy, matakot ka na nga, baka ika'y sugpuin. Wala kang pakinabang sa panahon ngayon, buti pa't bumulong kesa pa makulong. Pagkalooban mo ay tapat, kagaan ang mga pabigat. At kung sakaling masindak, tumindig ka tayo'y aangat. Pakinggan mo ang salita, di mapigil na salita. 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 Ang kwento ay papano pag matigil ang paggapaw ng katotohanan. Di dapat hayaang magunaw dahil inatas sa atin ang kakayahan ng pagtigas. Gamitin ng mahusay ang sandatang wagas. Kaya pakinggan mo ang salita, di mapigil na salita. 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 Huwag matakot magsalita, huwag patitigil magsalita. Ang boses mo'y mahalaga, boses ng malaya. Thank you. That's it. Maraming salamat.
Thank you so much, Attorney Pachoy, for that wonderful performance. For those who weren't able to join us earlier, so we had an earlier performance by Sir Jom Owano, and then a discussion about the legal issues or legal concerns and civil liberties and the current threat to these civil liberties by the anti-terrorism bill. So we've been discussing this already for several sessions, no, most of the time, and I think we will still discuss about it since it needs this sense of urgency from us. So most of the people who are behind this initiative to kining Anong Ambag Mo are artists, mostly musicians. At first, we wanted to initiate a fundraising campaign, and we still we're still doing it. But at the same time, we 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 feel the urgency to also tackle the important issues of the day, and this particular bill directly poses a threat not only to activists and human rights groups, but at the same time all other profession that deals with speeches and expression, no, from artists to academe and many others. So this really has something that has that needs to be addressed not only by the government but of course by the greater public. We have seen a trajectory or a trend that the government is more inclined uh, to utilize the law or to as other scholars or other in the legal other people in the legal profession would say, they're weaponizing the law to pursue a particular goal, and we don't want that to happen, and we don't want for the civilian public to be the casualty of such weaponization of the law. If this particular bill will become a law, then greater danger uh, will be posed upon the general public, and so this requires not only our involvement but also the sa may tawagan na ha, the vigilance uh, to be able to scrutinize and to be able to look at it in various means, no. So while we are generating funds and using this platform, we would also have the capacity to discuss issues like this, no? Or primarily this. We're supposed to have a second speaker pero nag-brown out sa ila. Wala siya internet. So, si Professor Santillan was he's from UP Cebu, and he's a philosophy teacher, and he's supposed to discuss about uh, the crisis and authoritarianism, how the two uh, what do you call this phenomena uh, interlap in this particular event or particular period in history in the Philippines. But unfortunately, he cannot connect anymore because
Wow.
yun, pre-data lang, pre-data na lang siya because there's no uh, electricity sa town nila. So unfortunately, we're gonna have to end the program earlier. But definitely, we'll invite Professor Santillan some other time to share and to discuss with us about maybe the same topic or some other topic that we'll have to discuss with him as well. Yeah, again, we would like to encourage everyone to donate in our in this initiative, the Anong Ambag Mo initiative. This initiative is initiated by initiative is initiated. This is primarily initiated by musicians and artists in Cebu. So na kami ta na naahalos sa Zoom meeting, but we're also utilizing Facebook to stream it live so that you can watch. And we would like to encourage you to um, donate for our frontliners and affected communities in the of the lockdown in Cebu City. So as we know, several barangays already are on strict lockdown, and some other barangays are on granular lockdown. Currently, the military and the police are more equipped in addressing the issue of the pandemic for this government. Nevertheless, we have to help our uh, fellow Cebuanos, and at the same time, we'd like to help our frontliners for their PPEs. So again, please donate through GCash or PayMaya at 0917-7015-726. Again, that's 0917 7015 726. So this program, this project will go on until the pandemic or the community quarantine ends. So we'll invite some other artists as well, not only musicians but also visual artists, poet, and you can wait for the announcement through the page for the upcoming events and upcoming guests that we will have. All right. Again, thank you so much, Sir Puchoy Labog from Dicta License and Dakila.
Thank you so much, Nina, for inviting me, and hopefully, I get to see you in Cebu one
Yeah,
day.
we'll invite you to the. Actually, we're hosting a gig. This was supposedly a gig, but we can't wait. We thought the quarantine was gonna end months earlier, but as we can see, I think this is gonna be extended for a while.
Yes.
So after this quarantine period ends, we're gonna be having a gig, a concert with some of the local bands. If
Yeah.
you
Hopefully,
have the time, we'd like to have you here as well with us
we'll
by
make
then.
time if we arrange everything right. Yeah. Okay.
Thank you so much. And to end our program for tonight, let's welcome again Sir Jom Uwano. Jom Uwano Music.
So man, classical na lang sa ako.
Good night, everyone. Daghang salamat.
I think I'll play. It's one of my favorite pieces to play on the guitar. It's an old Filipino love song. It's called Gaano Ko Ikaw Kamahal. Sorry. Okay. Ano pa, Kuya Nin, one more? Or okay na?
One more job.
Sige, ano man. So, ito ka na to.
Gymnopid, Jom.
Hindi ako so yan. This is a girl from Ipanema.
New verb na, Jom.
Alright, guys. Hi, Facebook. Okay na to, Kuya ninyo? Mark Ox na ako. Yes. Hi, guys. Mo ni siyang anong ambag mo. Ay mo kalimutan ni. Iya kalimutan ako, Bob.
Kaliho mo sikag tukar na.
Ika na ito, Car.
Ha?
Mr. Cobra Commander.
Di na ko'y bate kay kong audio, Jom. Wa ko'y mic nga tarong.
Palit ka niyo na BM800. Bitaw guys, kanang if live pa ni ba, kanang donate mo ha sa anong ambag mo. Nasa page niya. Nasa tos mga number gi pangingon ninyo. Kay nice man na mag-donate ta para maka-help tas mga tao. Alright, unsaon mo ni siya?
Asa na mas ninyo putol na kog record.
Sige, tutol. Kaya ako na sa ning stop by. Muhay na lang ako sa Facebook again. Hi, Facebook. Nya, katubags, nakabati ka. Ato, tinood gito. Namoy layang na bati ato.